again, friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Amy, and I'm glad you decided to join me for this Life as a Right Hemiplegic video. Today, instead of demonstrating something that I do with just the use of one hand, I decided to do something kind of different, mix it up, and share with you my story of the reason why, not the reason, but my journey of becoming a right hemiplegic. If you are new to my channel and don't know what I am talking about, that is a-okay. I was kind of struggling finding a subject matter to show you guys that I haven't done before, or that is new and exciting, and I just really wasn't coming up with anything. So I think I've done a video where I explain it, but this is a new version in case anybody doesn't want to go back and try and find that video. This is my right hand and arm, and what a right hemiplegic is, obviously it affects my right side. So a hemiplegic is the inability, and it is the result of a stroke. So when I was 6 months of age, I received a DPT shot, and you guys can look that up on your own time because I don't really want to have to explain. But I had a reaction to it, which resulted in me having a stroke, which affected the right side of my body. So now I am paralyzed from my right side down. Being paralyzed means that I have damage to my left side of the brain, because the left side of the brain affects the right side. It also means that I have no functional use of my right arm, meaning that unlike my left, where I can just open and close my hand without thinking, I cannot do that. If I think to open my right hand, it will not open. It just stays like this. No matter how hard I concentrate, I cannot open my right hand from a fist. So it stays like this. Sometimes my finger likes to point down for whatever reason. Sometimes there's two, but usually it just always stays clamped up like this. So I grew up, obviously, from 6 months having this disability. I still have this disability. It's a lifelong disability. It will never, if you will, quote unquote, get better. Now, I am a born-again Christian, and I do believe if the Lord wants to heal me, He has the power to heal me right away, and He can do it. All things are possible through the Lord Jesus Christ. But as of now, there is no surgery, there is no physical therapy or solutions right now that will help my body heal, if that makes sense. The muscles also in my arm and leg are not as defined as my left. I mean, I don't have a lot of muscle on my right arm, or on my left arm. Like, there's just not a lot of muscle, because I don't, exercise with, to help pump up my left arm strength. I just don't. I mean, I have some muscle, like, that's it. But again, I have no, as you can see how skinny it is compared to my left, there's a difference. Like, I don't use this arm muscle, like, as often. And even sometimes when I stretch out my arm like this, the muscles in it are sometimes sore. and they're stiff just from not use of it, because it's a muscle. So the more you use it, the more um, it will easily open and close, so to speak. So this it hurts sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it's sore, and it hurts sometimes to stretch it out. Um, Also, my right foot is smaller than my left foot. I'm not going to see. Here's my left foot. Here's my right foot. They look the same. Um, but my right foot is smaller than my left. As just to a good comparison, I wear a size 8, sometimes 8.5, depending on the shoe. And on my left, on my right, I can be generally, for most shoes, a size 6, 6.5 sometimes, or sometimes a 5. It just kind of, again, depends on the type of shoe. Just as a comparison. So again, buying shoes is very, very complicated. I also don't have the muscle to keep in shoes, my foot inside a shoe, which is funny. Like my foot will just naturally slide out if it doesn't have a back to it or straps. It just doesn't have that. I don't have the feeling of, I can't tell when it's slipping off my foot. So the feelings aren't as strong. So I have to, again, make sure that the type of footwear I wear, it will be fine. I don't have to deal with that sort of issue. I also don't have a strong sense of feel on my face. So like if I'm eating and, I get food on my face, I can't tell all the time, and sometimes I have food on my face. Now, if I'm out in public eating at a restaurant, I am very aware of it, and every few bites, I make sure I wipe my face so I'm not scary looking with all the mess on my face, because ew, nobody wants to see that. So that's how I correct that. I also, because of my disability, I do not have a strong sense of balance. So, like, for example, I am okay going upstairs, just walking upstairs, or escalator or anything like that. But I despise heavily, and it's not like I need to use this a lot, but going backwards, like example, like climbing down a ladder, I absolutely hate, because my right foot, again, I do not have that feeling of security, of steadiness. So even if I'm hanging on to a handrail, it feels like I'm, sometimes like if you get out of a movie theater and you go outside and there's a step down, but you're not, like, your brain isn't necessarily aware of it. Or if you're in like a good conversation and you're talking with a friend and you like misstep, like you kind of stumble, that's kind of the feeling that I have going down. Like I don't have that immediate knowledge of security of stepping down with my right. I always I step with my left and go with my right, meaning I lead with my left foot. Again, I don't need to walk down ladders like all the time. So that's, not pretty much an issue, but I absolutely hate it, because, or it feels like if you're tipping your, a chair backwards, and we all or like a recliner, or sometimes it moves, or not moves but leans back, and generally people are okay and can balance themselves, correct their balance. My brain goes into panic mode, and I absolutely hate it. I feel like I'm falling, if that makes sense. I also have a learning disability, which made school sometimes a very big pain in the butt. Excuse me. I went to special ed a lot as a kid growing up in elementary school and middle school. Um, because I also was pulled out a lot, I had a lot of like catching up to do. So, while all the kids were learning, subtraction and sometimes like multiplication or multiplication, I was still trying to catch up learning adding and subtracting, and like multiplication is like, if you've never dealt with it and you're learning, you're just got like the basics of adding and subtracting, we'll say. Multiplication can be quite a challenge. And so I believed math was a 4-letter cuss word. And also reading was a very big hurdle and challenge for me to overcome. Clearly, I have overcome it, as you can see by my love of books. I really overcome it, but it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of tears, to get to where I am today. And I am so blessed in a way that I can function on my own. I don't have to rely on a caregiver to help me get dressed. I don't have to worry about my husband needing to, call and check up on me to make sure that, I ate breakfast. I'm, all that kind of stuff. I also attribute that to my parents for sacrificing so much for me, for taking me to all my PT and OT therapies. That's physical therapy and occupational therapy, in case anybody doesn't know. That's when I was young, again, I worked on my hands. They helped me with moving my hands and my foot and walking a lot. Again, this is when I was very, very younger when this happened, and kind of all throughout middle school as well. I also had surgery where they lengthened my tendon in my leg. This was in the 6th grade, so whatever age kids are in the 6th grade, generally, that's how old I was, just as a reference. I went to the Shriner Hospital to get my surgery. I also had a hip bone, not infusion, but they took transfusion. I don't know. They took a piece of my bone and put it in my foot to help do something. I truly can't remember what it was, but that's what I had done. So I also have a scar on my hip from that, to help me walk better, to help correct, so my foot does not, most people feet are like this, okay? So, or like if they're standing like this, my right foot kind of leans in a bit, and the surgery was done to help correct it, so I wouldn't need a lot of inserts of splints and not a cast, but splints and inserts, so to help keep my foot straight. And I wore those pretty much since right after my stroke, but a bit after my stroke, I'll say a year after, just as a range, to probably, I want to say, middle school. up until high school. They suggested I wear it, but the styles of splints back in the day, like in high, like no kid really, I don't care who you are, no kid really wants to wear a splint or make them um or have anything that draws attention to them. So even if it's in the shoe, I had my splint was like a hard, one of them was like a uh so it was from the back here to here. It was like an L. So it cupped around the back of my calf and on the base of my foot. I put it in, and then I would put my depending on what pants I wore. But if I wore like jeans, I had to wear them on the outside, and that so was not fashionable at the time, let's face it. But if I had sweatpants, I could hide it in my pants, thank gosh. Um, and then that once I had my brace on, I put my shoe on, and pretty much I was lucky. Nobody really knew I had it. It again depends on what kind of pants I wore or whatever. But kids are mean. Kids can, or they don't understand why you have to wear it, or like the struggles of putting it on in the morning, and not, you don't want to, every kid doesn't want to have to go through extra hurdles that everybody else doesn't, but that's just life sometimes. So I kind of just grunt and bore it. I never really cried or got frustrated in that way when I had to wear them. Growing up, when I did, like, 90s, it wasn't they weren't as bad as bullies can be and whatnot as today. Which I am glad that I have never got bullied, but that was, I didn't get bullied, but I could hear girls talking behind my back, like sometimes, and that hurt. But I was just like, I was also very shy because I didn't have the confidence that everybody else had, because, this is not exactly like everybody else. Sure, there's all the right number of fingers, and it's, everything's the same in that regard, but it hangs different. Like, it's different, and it's not, I did not have the confidence in myself, when I was younger, to like, or to stand up for myself. I had friends and that growing up, which was great, but making new friends and even meeting new people was so stressful. I hate it. I sometimes still hate meeting new people, to be honest. Like, um, I'm obviously much better at it. I try to put my best foot forward and all that. So I do it because I'm an adult. I have to, but it's not always my favorite. I get anxiety because, again, like, I'm not like everybody else in looks, which is fine, whatever. But growing up, you kind of want to be in the same you want to be clumped in with everybody else, and when you're not, that is very hard. um so again, growing up, I had to learn to do everything one-handed. So cooking, I had to learn one-handed, and trying to figure out how to do everyday tasks, but just with my left hand, which makes it very difficult. But again, I have a wonderful family and friends who support me and help, and I am blessed that they are willing to do that for me. Also, baking is another thing I absolutely love, but can be very challenging. Think about if you had to like bake a cake, but only use your left hand to do absolutely everything, to get the box out of the cupboard, to do the oven, to spray the pan without, that's just what I deal with on an everyday basis. Not that I bake a cake every day or anything like that, but Or also going out and shopping for food. Like, you have to have a cart. The normal regular carts, the heavy ones, they can get heavy when food is in there. That's why, to offset this, I generally try for the shorter carts, or the baskets, depending if I don't have a lot of things. Again, that's how I counter it. Also paying for the groceries, right, with one hand. Can you imagine opening your purse, getting the wallet out, finding your either money or credit cards, like that? All that is like, it's an ordeal, and I've functioned just fine with it. To me, it's just like everyday, life. Um, And there are still struggles that I do. Sometimes I get so frustrated that I can't, put my hair in a bun or a sloppy bun. That's just something I can't do because you need two hands to do it. And that's really, really frustrating as a woman. And I mean, I guess you could be a man putting a man bun in, but like, it's really frustrating not to do a hairstyle that looks so cute and fun, and not being able to do it. That really sucks. Um, or struggling doing my painting fingernails. I had to learn how to do that as well. Um, and again, I've overcome it. I can do it just fine. Um, don't look, but I haven't got my nails done this year. I have to go get them. Well, I'm not getting them done. I usually get them done professionally, um, every Christmas, but this year, to save a little money, I decided to uh not do them. So I have these ones painted. They're red with white stripes, and as it gets closer to Christmas, I'll paint them. But because again, I don't want to paint my nails and then just have them chip and have to redo them before Christmas, because they never look as good retouched up as they do when you first get them done. So I'm kind of waiting on that. But and again, I could ask my husband. I could ask, I'm sure, my nieces to paint my nails for me. That's fine. But there's something that is wanting, meaning that it's taking away one's independence. Once, if you ever have to have, you know, you can't use your dominant arm for stuff, you realize, wow, how it affects your everyday life in a way you never thought, or and it's a real struggle. And that's what, I have to do. If some people's dominant hands are in a sling like for a week, they're like, this is so hard, I can't do stuff. And I have a very dry sense of humor and a very sassy, snarky sense of humor when it comes to stuff like that, because that is with what I have to deal with every day of my life. There's no getting around it. Or and not just my type of disability. I will never know the struggles of always being like in a wheelchair bound. That's just, and those come with other, struggles that I won't have to deal with. Now, I was in a wheelchair after my surgery, because I couldn't use crutches, because I can't use one crutch to get around. Being in a wheelchair is horrible. I wish it on nobody. People in wheelchairs are amazing to the stuff they have to deal with, because when I was in the wheelchair recovering from my surgery, we lived in Alaska at the time, and we lived in a rural area, so streets weren't paved very often. There was deep snow. There's challenges of all winter things, and I tip my hat to everybody that has to deal with being in wheelchairs and stuff, no matter the weather or whatever. It is so frustrating. And also, especially parking, when people take handicap parking spaces. That is really, really frustrating. People in wheelchairs need that. and you don't think about it until you, again, you have to, you either live with it, or you you have to face it on your own. If you ever are in that situation, you don't realize, oh wow, this sucks. I have, because I have my right leg and foot is shorter than all that. It makes it harder to walk. I don't have the endurance as somebody that does not have a um, hemiplegia, or a right leg shorter than the other. So it takes me a little bit long. Like, I don't think I walk slow, but some people can walk slower. I also can't, like I said, I don't have the endurance. Like, if we're walking a long time, my foot is going to get sore quicker. Again, I feel like this also now as an adult, if like I'm wearing heels, it's gonna be more tender, and if I don't wear heels as often as I try and do. But again, I feel like that can be anybody that wears heels. If you don't wear them in a long time, your feet aren't conditioned to wearing heels, so you can't walk a long time. And like buying clothes and all that is challenging. It can be challenging. I learned how to, as a woman, I had to learn to also put on a bra one-handed, and how to do that by myself. And I did. I figured all that out. I believe I have a video. I think I have a video on that. So I just wanted to sort of not update, but tell my story of what hemiplegia is, sort of how like I said, how it all happened. Like I said, I am truly blessed that I have enough functioning in my brain where I can carry on a conversation. I understand how to do math now. I can, create fun, and learn how to do Cricut machines and art, and obviously reading and writing. I mean, and I know, to all the caretakers that have to do, and have to help people with disabilities, you guys are all amazing. There are many days where it's frustrating. Life can just be frustrating for me, not being able to do tasks, and I just cry. And I know that's not a fun thing to talk about, but there are days where I cry and I get so frustrated with the world, because it is so hard to function with just one hand. I challenge all of you who are watching this to try and do a task with just your left hand, and to see what it's like for me to do that task, to know what I go through on a daily basis. And if you want, let me know your results down in the comments below. I'd love to know hear what you guys all think. And if anybody has any questions, please also leave them down below in the comments. I don't mind answering questions about my disability. I actually highly encourage it. I'd rather have people ask questions and try to understand it and me better than just like stare and just like, talk like this crazy lady's telling me about how she does stuff with just one hand. So I highly encourage it. You will not offend me. I've heard pretty much every question under the sun. I've dealt with millions of doctors all my life, just doing different things. Um, and yeah, I carry on. I try to live the best life I can. I always try to have a positive attitude. Again, there are hard days. I have hard days just like everybody else. Um, I don't think that I need to be, put on a. There's no need for anybody to put me on a pedestal and be like, oh, she's just the most amazing girl in the world, and I have no flaws, and I never screw up, and no, 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 no. People with disabilities still mess up. We're still people, guys. We, we mess up. We make mistakes. We laugh at each other. We laugh at ourselves. We are funny people, okay? And I feel sometimes that people are shocked that I laugh at myself. I make fun of myself all the time. And that's something that I think people don't realize. Like, yes, I have a disability, but, sometimes I burp and it's funny. Sometimes I make up songs and they're silly. Sometimes I make fun of myself, and that's okay. Like, that is okay to laugh at somebody that has a disability if they are laughing at themselves. Like, it's okay. I feel like a lot of times it's taboo or something. Like, so what if I have a disability and I laugh at a joke that is about somebody that has a disability? If it's funny, it's funny. It's relatable to me. Also, I find it funny that people get offended for me for something somebody else said. You don't need to do that. You don't need to fight my battles for me. I don't care, okay? Jokes are jokes. Like, you know what I mean? It's also funny when people I've never met tried to go to battle for me when I didn't ask them or didn't need it. Like, sometimes people come up to me, not all the time or whatever, in rare occasions, but like, they're like, aren't you offended by this? Or, we need to do something to fix it. And I'm like, do we? I know that the majority of people with disabilities is still a less percentage than people that don't have disabilities. Our circle of all the people that have disabilities is still smaller than the whole general population. I don't need to fight to have something change just because I have, it might be a little more of a struggle than others. You know what I mean? I don't need special treatment. And I feel sometimes people put too much energy into special treatment with people with disabilities. We don't want special treatment all the time, okay? We don't. Like, just treat us like an average person. Like, I'm not saying like that, you need to be rude or like, like behind the counter giving change or like, food or whatever the situation is. But just treat me like everybody else, or be like, oh, yep, it takes a second. Okay, yeah, have a good day. You know what I mean? I feel like that some people, in some situations, not take advantage, but they not thrive. I don't want to say that, but or caregivers, again, depending on situations, use it to their advantage. Oh, my daughter is, has a disability. I get special treatment, like going to the front of the line or whatever. Again, that's not necessarily, give them a chair to sit if they are tired to sit. There's some situations and I'm not saying people should not cater to people with disabilities, but don't make it like it's the most grandest thing in the world. Oh, let me just do all this needs. Oh, extra special. No, 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 no. People with disabilities hate the spotlight. We do. We don't want, all the world eyes on us. Which, unfortunately, it generally is. Um, but again, you got to put your best foot forward and show the world you are just an average person. You are an average person, and sometimes it does get frustrating when um, people have come up to my family and be like, "You don't need this handicap park. Your daughter works. Your daughter walks just fine. She doesn't need it." Like, can you imagine, like, the gall to come up to somebody, like, a parent and with their kid and their child, and being like, "You don't need this"? Like, excuse you. Or even an adult that has it. Some disabilities aren't visible. Mine's a very visible disability. But like, if I had my hands in my pockets, and nobody would know I have a disability. You know what I mean? So I caution everybody out there to, you know, not judge books by their covers. Now, like, and sometimes I own it to, I admit, sometimes judge other people for judging me, and I sometimes judge people that, like, get out of their cars in a handicap spot and they don't either have a hang tag to show they can park there, or a license plate. And they seem, from the outside, they don't seem to have any physical disabilities. So sometimes I judge them. Again, mentally I judge. I never come up to, because I would never do that to anybody else. But we all have our little things. I always some kids like to stare and like look at me. That's fine. I understand. I understand this is not the norm. You know what I mean? And so I just smile back, right? Wave or say hi, just because sometimes just that barrier of, oh, she said hi to me. It breaks that ice. She's like everyone else. It's not, kids are easy. They're like, oh, they don't understand, and sometimes just breaking that ice or just being friendly opens up so much to kids that they wouldn't know otherwise. And sometimes I get stared by adults or whatever, but I don't everybody judges everybody. Sometimes, that's just life. So, and that's why for me, sometimes not sometimes, but why I wanted to get tattooed, one of the reasons was to get tattooed. Not my only reason. It's not, again, I'm not saying anybody should because of my reasons. It added to my reasonings to want to get a tattoo. But I figured that, most of a lot of people nowadays have tattoos. It's normal. There's no stigmatism anymore to getting tattoos. I mean, sometimes there still is, but for the general populace, I want to say tattoos are sort of an everyday thing now. Like, everybody under the sun, it seems like, has some. Again, not everybody, and that's totally fine. Again, I have no problem with people that don't have tattoos. Not at all. A lot of my friends don't. So, but if people see me with tattoos, they look at, like, the tattoos. And then they see me like, oh, this person's cool. It is great when somebody comes up to me and there is nothing, they are not looking at my arm. They're like, you have beautiful tattoos. Thank you. That makes my day so much. Like, my tattoos, if you will, are worthy, and somebody appreciates them to say something. Sometimes we see, in a cute outfit, but we don't say anything, or but we appreciate it. So when somebody does, come up to me, or while I'm checking out, they say, "Oh, I really like your tattoos," or "They're really pretty." That just makes my day so much. Same thing, like if I do my hair nice, if I do my makeup good, anything like that. Again, who doesn't like getting compliments? That's not just for people with disabilities, but having somebody, a stranger, come up to somebody that has a disability and says, you know, "Great job on the hair, makeup, I like your tattoo," whatever it is, it sort of gives us a boost, like I am worthy to be, a part of this great world, and like whatever. Not that I didn't think I was a part of this great world, but that if you will, in a way, I was worthy enough to, have them come up to me and want to tell me that. That makes my day. But yeah, that is all the video for today. I know this one is kind of lengthy, but that is how I am a right hemiplegic. I hoped it was insightful for you. I love always sharing my story. Again, if you like this video, give it a big like, subscribe, share with friends and family. If you have any questions truly about my disability or how I do things, please leave them in the comments below, and I will answer them as promptly as possible. Also, I am doing a giveaway on my channel, so if you are interested in winning a Loungefly and some other fun prizes, go check out that video. It might come up on the suggestions or somewhere. Anyway, on my channel, you'll find it. It's December giveaway video, so if you want to enter that, definitely go and check that video out and do all the things that you need to. Yeah, I just truly like sharing my story, and I love showing you guys the types of activities that I do once a month. I hope to continue this series. Until then, I will see you guys on my next video. Bye-bye for now. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye, everyone.